You've been introduced now to what standard form looks like. Let's see how we can graph lines that are given to us in standard form equations. So remember, in order to identify and graph the slope and the y-intercept from an equation, that equation must be in slope-intercept form. So in other words, we can't do anything with slope and y-intercept from an equation that's in standard form. It must be in slope-intercept form. So let's see how we are going to graph. So we're asked to graph the line 4x plus 2y equals 12. This equation is obviously not in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So y has to be by itself, and that is not the case with this equation. So we need to convert this equation to slope-intercept form. So to get this equation in slope-intercept form, like I said, we need to get y by itself. So first thing that's got to go is this 4x. What's the zero pair with 4x? A negative 4x. So subtract 4x on both sides. And 4x and negative 4x combine to be 0. And I'm left with 2y equals a negative 4x and a plus 12. Okay, I've almost got y by itself, but there's still this 2 being multiplied by it, so I need to divide this into two groups. So do the same on this side. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so there's 1y. And then I need to do negative 4 divided by 2. That's a negative 2x. And 12 divided by 2 is 6, so a positive 6. Now my equation is in slope-intercept form. It's in the form y equals mx plus b. So I can identify the slope and the y-intercept now. Okay, the slope of this line is negative 2. The y-intercept is 6. So this should be very familiar for you. We can graph now that we have the slope and the y-intercept. So start with the y-intercept. This is where the line crosses the y-axis, so it crosses at 6. And then we'll use the slope to find the second point. Remember, the slope is the same thing as the rise over the run. And rise over run is a fraction, negative 2 is not. So in order to make negative 2 a fraction, we just write it over 1. It doesn't change the value, it just makes it look like a fraction. So negative 2 is the rise and the run is 1. So from this point, we're going to go down 2, because the rise is negative, and to the right 1. Okay, and there's a second point. Once I have 2 points, I can graph my line. That looks something like that. Okay, so the process is, to graph, we need to convert our equation from standard form to slope-intercept form. Then we can find the slope and the y-intercept, and then we can graph. Let's do one more example. Graph the line x minus 2y equals 8. Okay, so this needs to be converted to slope-intercept form. So in other words, we need y by itself on this side of the equal sign. So the x has got to go first. So what's the zero pair with an x? Minus x. So it's minus x on both sides to keep everything fair. So x minus x is 0, and I still have a negative 2y equals a negative x and a positive 8. Okay, y is almost by itself, it's just being multiplied by this negative 2 now. So to get rid of the negative 2, we'll divide both sides by negative 2. Okay, negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, so there's my 1y that I want. And then I do a negative x divided by negative 2. Well, the negative and the negative are going to cancel out to be positive. And remember, if there's not a number in front of x, we assume that it's a 1. So a negative 1 divided by negative 2 is a positive 1 over 2. You can double check that with your calculator if you weren't sure. And then we have an 8 divided by negative 2, and that's negative 4. Okay, this equation is now in slope-intercept form. So once it's in slope-intercept form, I can identify the slope and the y-intercept. The slope here is 1/2, and the y-intercept is -4. So to graph, start with the y-intercept. That's at -4 on the y-axis. And then our slope is 1/2, so we're going to rise 1, run 2. So from this point, rise 1, run 2. And there's our next point. Once you have 2 points, that's enough to draw a line. And this is the graph of the line x minus 2y equals 8.